Welcome to the Cedar Rapids Linn County Solid Waste Agency Fiscal Year 2023 Operations and Capital Budget Review. The budget process typically begins in the month of August each year and extends into November. Staff prepares the detail contained within the budget based on several factors, such as historical averages, market analysis, and projections. Upon staff's completion, the document is sent to the Agency Finance Committee for a more in-depth review of the budget. This review was done yesterday, November 15th, with action taken by the committee to recommend to the Board of Directors the budget be placed on file for public review, with a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, December 21st, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. If the board adopts the FY'23 budget on December 21st, notification of the budget will be sent to all member and associate members of the Solid Waste Agency. The agency's budgets comprise of four components. 1. Operating and non-operating revenues consists of charges for services, mainly by residents and businesses located in Linn County, by using any of the agency's facilities, whether it be the Site 2 Landfill, Resource Recovery, or Household Hazardous Waste Center, or the Compost site in downtown Cedar Rapids. In addition, the agency generates revenue from state grants, the methane gas engine, and interest from the cash reserves invested. 2. Operating expenses are defined as costs associated in operating the daily business of the agency. Examples would be the salaries and wages, fuel, equipment, repairs, grounds maintenance, engineering, and utilities, to name a few. 3. Capital expenditures are described as assets used in conducting business at the agency. These typically are large-scale dollar purchases with an expected useful life, depending on the nature of the asset. One example would be a landfill compactor with an expected useful life of 7 years. 4. Fund balances or cash reserves are the funds used to make current or future purchases without the use of external financing. These funds can be restricted for certain uses only, but typically are unrestricted, meaning funds can be used interchangeably if needed in order to fund a particular project or acquisition. There are currently 7 cash reserve funds established by the agency: the Operating Fund, Closure and Post-Closure Fund, Capital Equipment Replacement Fund, Capital Improvements Fund, Phase 5 Landfill Cell Development Fund, Site 1 Redevelopment Fund, and the Future Development Fund. All but one of the 7 are unrestricted funds. The Closure Post-Closure Fund is deemed a restricted fund. The FY'23 budget pricing structure effective July 1st, 2022 are as follows. Standard landfill tip fee increased by $2 per ton to $42 per ton. Special wastes tip fee, various rates will apply depending on the type of material. Liquid solidification tip fee, various rates will apply depending on the type of material. Yard and wood waste tip fee increased by $2 per ton to $26 per ton. Commercial finished compost remains unchanged at $24 per ton. Waste tires, $3 per tire. Bulk loads of more than 8 tires are charged a bulk rate of $300 per ton. Appliances, $10 per unit. TVs and computer monitors, $15 per unit, with a bulk rate of $500 per ton. Commercial hazardous wastes, various rates will apply depending on the material. Items the agency will continue to accept at no charge are as follows: scrap metal drop-off, residential household hazardous materials, residential commingled recyclables, waste motor oil with a 20-gallon maximum per visit, certain types of batteries, fluorescent tubes, and medical sharps. Items and activities for no charge at the Cedar Rapids downtown facility are: finished compost for Linn County residents, quantities unlimited as the supplies last. Glass delivered from the City of Cedar Rapids for its residential curbside pickup program, and there is no charge of admission to use the Mount Trashmore trails and overlook. There will be new community grant programs for waste diversion efforts of $200,000 effective July 1st, 2022. This is an FY'23 new program. This chart shows a tonnage summary. In FY'21, the actual landfill tonnages were 381,927 tons, with budgeted amount of 207,000 tons. The FY'23 budgeted amount expects 207,000 tons of landfill waste. At the compost facility, 40,130 tons of compostable or yard waste materials were accepted in FY'21, with a budgeted or expected amount of 29,200. The FY'23 budgeted amount expected is 29,300 tons. Finished material leaving the compost facility in FY'21, actuals were 37,283 tons, with a budgeted amount or estimation of 16,400 tons. The FY'23 budgeted expectation is 16,400 tons. Here you can see the landfill tonnages over the past 5 years, showing a gradual increase of solid waste being accepted at our Site 2 landfill facility. Due to the August 2020 derecho, tonnages in FY'21 were almost double that of our average tonnages. Tonnages are still up in FY'22, and currently we estimate to reach 275,000 tons. Most derecho repairs should be wrapped up before FY'23. FY'23 tonnage is estimated at 207,000 tons. In FY'21, 381,927 tons were landfilled. The waste stream is broken down into two segments. Commercial and industrial wastes represent 76%, and residential wastes amount to 24% of the total. Of the 207,000 landfill tons projected for FY'23, the agency will need 128,895 tons to adequately fund landfill operations and administration. 27,659 tons will be needed to fund other programs, such as recycling efforts, household hazardous waste disposal, public education, media advertising, and comprehensive planning. The remaining 50,444 tons will be distributed to the restricted and unrestricted cash reserves for future uses. The summary page found on page 1 of your packet indicates that total revenues are projected to be at $11.4 million in FY'23 from $10.7 million in FY'22, or an increase of $700,000. Total expenditures are estimated at $16.3 million in fiscal year 23, a decrease of $3.2 million from the current budget. For fiscal year 23, on a cash basis, the agency will experience a drawdown of restricted and unrestricted funds of approximately $2.3 million. This revenue pie chart indicates landfill user fees as the main source of revenue for the agency, amounting in 73% of the total. The remaining 27% comes from various other sources as illustrated here. On page 2 of your budget packet, total revenue next year is estimated to be $11.4 million, or an increase of $686,300 over the FY'22 budget of $10.7 million. Landfill tonnage has been forecasted at 207,000 tons for FY'23. Tipping fee rates will increase for most categories by $2 per ton. Recycling revenue shares are up this year, and we are forecasting that this will continue through FY'23. Interest income from the investment portfolio is currently extremely low, and it's not anticipated rates will climb into the foreseeable future. Total operating expenses next year is projected to be $15.6 million. Of the $15.6 million budgeted to be spent, 25% will be used for employee payroll and benefits. 17% will be paid for engineering, recycling disposal services, operating the gas engine, property insurance, media advertising, and educating the public. 8% will be used for purchasing fuel, equipment repairs, and maintaining all buildings and grounds. 21% will be used for capital expenditures. 23% will be depreciation expenses. Total personnel services expenses for FY'23 is budgeted at $3,864,000. That's a decrease of $95,000 from the FY'22 budget of $3,959,000. Employee headcount will be at 37 full-time equivalent in FY'23. The Recreation Trails Coordinator position is not included in this headcount. Cost of living adjustments for all staff are budgeted at 3%. Group insurance rates are budgeted at no change in premium, but total cost will decrease due to a reduced administrative fee by the City of Cedar Rapids from a $75 a month surcharge per employee to a 2% fee. The purchased services category for FY'23 will have a total budget of $2,660,000, an increase of $291,000 from the FY'22 budget of $2,369,000. An increase in spending to research alternative technologies of solid waste disposal and the addition of a new community grant initiative for waste diversion are what drives this increase. We are also budgeting for seasonal labor staff again next year in our personnel services budget and will therefore not require the use of temp help for litter picking, so we are not budgeting anything for temp services in FY'23. Total supplies and materials expenses budgeted for FY'23 is $1,212,000, an increase of $67,000 from the FY'22 budget of $1,145,000. Increases in fuel prices will be somewhat offset by lower repair and maintenance costs. Total other expenses for FY'23 is budgeted at $1,056,000, an increase of $215,000 from FY'22 budget of $841,000. Based on current and future estimates of total landfill tonnage for fiscal years 2022 and 2023, current permitted landfill airspace will reach maximum capacity during the spring months of 2023. Bringing the Phase 5 landfill cell online in the spring of 2023 will provide added landfill airspace for solid waste disposal. Plans for landfill cell 5B design and construction will occur in the fiscal year's time window of 2028 to 2031. Total capital outlay of $3.2 million for the FY'23 budget will be $3.2 million lower than the FY'22 budget of $6.4 million. The Phase 5A cell construction project will be complete in FY'22, and there will not be as many equipment purchases in FY'23. Most of the FY'23 capital outlay is for the construction of the mechanics shop at the compost facility. This project will be started in FY'22 and completed in FY'23. These capital purchases or improvement projects will adhere to the normal public bidding processes and procedures, with follow-up review to the board for authorization to move ahead with what's intended. Also note, there's funds appropriated as a capital project to comply with the regulations from the American Disabilities Act in making the buildings at Site 2 handicap accessible. The 5-year capital expenditure projection currently stands at $13.6 million, with the largest share of the capital expenses of $5.3 million slated for FY'24. Upon completion of any remaining capital projects in FY'23, there will be no capital improvement projects through 2027, other than heavy equipment replacement. This pie chart depicts the restricted closure post-closure fund, representing 65% of the agency's total fund balance. The remaining 35% of the fund balance is divided amongst the 6 unrestricted funds. Total operating revenues and operating expenses are expected to remain steady in fiscal year 23. Total estimated capital equipment acquisitions and capital construction projects of $3.2 million will have a direct impact on the agency's cash reserves. Total revenues, less expenses, and capital expenditures will result in a drawdown of cash reserves amounting to $2.3 million. The Finance Committee recommends the Board place the FY'23 operating and capital budgets on file for public review. Staff recommends a motion from the Board to place the fiscal year 23 operating and capital budgets on file for public review and to set a public hearing date of Tuesday, December 21st, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. Thank you for your time and attention. Staff is now available to answer any questions or comments that you may have.